To complete the square, my quadratic must start positive x squared. As it starts positive x squared, I can start with my square brackets and place a single x inside. To find the number that goes inside my square brackets, all I do is I halve the number in front of the single x. I must take the sign. Well, positive 6 divided by 2 gives us plus 3. And then always subtract the number inside the bracket squared. Well, 3 squared I know is 9. So I'm going to subtract 9. And I place the original number, in this case plus 11, on the end. I'm going to simplify my numbers on the outside. So in my square brackets, I have x plus 3 in brackets squared. And negative 9 add 2 simplifies to give us plus 2. For question 2, again, I need my quadratic to start positive x squared. As I have positive 3x squared, my first step is I need to factorise out the number 3 from my x squared and my single x term. Factorising out the number 3. What do I times 3 to get back to 3x squared? Well, I'm missing x squared. And what do I times 3 to get back to positive 15x? I'm missing plus 5x. And I leave the number term on the outside, in this case, plus 8. We should now notice we've got a similar question to part A. So on the inside here, I'm going to complete the square for x squared plus 5x. So starting with my square brackets, I place a single x inside. I always halve the number in front of the single letter of x. In this case, half of positive 5, I could write as a fraction, as being 5 over 2. I then always subtract that number squared. If I'm squaring a fraction, I simply square the top and square the bottom. So 5 squared on the top will give us 25. And the bottom 2 squared gives us 4. And I leave the positive 8 still on the outside. Multiplying the 3 back inside my square brackets, the 3 is going to be multiplied in front of my x plus 5 over 2 in brackets squared. And the 3 is also going to multiply the negative 25 over 4. And 3 times negative 25 over 4 will give us negative 75 over 4. And I've still got the plus 8 that I must place on the end. Simplify my number terms on a non-calculator paper. I know 8 is the same as 8 over 1. As I want both fractions to have a common denominator, I know I can times top and bottom of the 8 by 4 to get them both to have a denominator of 4. Now that each fraction has a common denominator of 4, I can just simply add the numerators. Well, negative 75 and 32 will simplify to give us negative 43. For question 3, in order to complete the square, my quadratic must start positive x squared. In this case, I've got negative 2x squared. So I'm going to factorise the negative 2 from both the x squared and the single x term. Factorising out negative 2. What do I times negative 2 to get back to negative 2x squared? Well, I'm missing x squared. And what do I times negative 2 to get back to positive 8x? Well, I know a negative times negative is a positive. So negative 2 times negative 4x. And I'll leave the number term, in this case negative 1, on the end. Leaving negative 2 outside my square bracket, I'm now going to complete the square for what's inside. As I've got positive x squared, I'm going to start with my square brackets and place a single x inside. To find the number that goes inside, I always halve. I divide by 2 the number in front of the single letter of x. Again, you must take the sign. Well, negative 4 divided by 2 will give us negative 2. And I then always subtract that number squared. Well, 2 squared is 4, so I'm going to subtract 4. And again, I still have this negative 1 that I leave on the outside. Multiplying the negative 2 back inside my square brackets, I know I'm going to have negative 2, lots of x minus 2 in brackets squared. And the negative 2 is also going to multiply the negative 4. Well, negative 2 times negative 4, and negative times negative will give us a positive. So that's going to give us plus 8. And I've still got a negative 1 that I must place on the end. My final step is to collect my number terms. Here, positive 8 subtract 1 will give us plus 7. And that's my final answer for 3 marks.
Your turn. Drop solutions in the chat. Thanks.